In this video, we rewind to November 1986 and a Division 3 match between local rivals Middlesbrough and Darlington. A few of you have asked for lesser-known firms to be given a chance, so here it is. You probably all know Boro's firm, but here we introduce a story from a Darlington Bank top 200 member, alongside the Boro Frontline member. Let's get on with the stories. First we have Boro Frontline member Tony, who told us, anyone familiar with Darlington back in the 80s knew it wasn't just a sleepy market town tucked away in the northeast. Beneath its quiet facade was a reputation for turning out a fierce football mob. And at the time, the name on everyone's lips was the Bank Top 200. After Boro's drop to Division 3, we all knew the upcoming derby on November the 8th, 1986, would be more than just a football match. It was a chance to make a statement, and Darlington's firm would be well up for it. The anticipation had been building for weeks. The usual problem reared its head. How do you hit a town like Darlo without the police sniffing you out instantly? A big group arriving together would be asking for trouble. So we split into cells. Smaller units, more mobile, harder to spot. The idea was to link up later in the town centre. My lot, around 40 of us, came in on the train, landing just before midday. We had a local lad with us called Colin, who used to travel with our lot to Boro games now and again. He told us he knew a quiet boozer off the radar where we could get a pint without being hassled. Sounded perfect, or so we thought. We strolled through the town centre expecting some early action from Darlo, but nothing materialised. It felt too quiet, which in hindsight should have been a warning. As we followed Colin down a side road not far from the social club he'd mentioned, I spotted a pair of lads lounging on a wall outside. When they saw us coming, they casually headed inside. No big deal. Until seconds later, the club doors burst open. Suddenly, we were facing the full weight of the Bank Top 200. At least 200 of them, charging out like a tidal wave. Glasses, pool balls, even fire extinguishers were flying through the air before we'd even had time to react. We did what any tight crew does, bunched up and stood firm. They came at us full tilt, but instead of running, we met them head on. I don't think they were expecting that, and for a few seconds it was absolute bedlam. But we held our own. That was until I got clocked by a flying fire extinguisher that sent me sprawling. Before I could properly gather myself, one of their lot booted me in the chest. Ironically, it got me back on my feet. Cheers for that. The next few minutes were chaos. Everyone was swinging. We were massively outnumbered, but no one bottled it. Still, the tide was turning against us. And then the police turned up. As soon as the blue lights appeared, the Darlo mob retreated back into the club like nothing had happened. The coppers herded us back towards the high street. By then, more Boro lads were arriving and the numbers quickly swelled. In no time, we'd taken over the town centre. From that moment, Darlington was a battleground. Every pub had trouble. Running fights spilled down alleyways and across car parks. Sirens were constant. Shoppers fled. One minute it was poppy sellers on the high street, the next it was fists and bottles flying. The police were completely out of their depth. There weren't nearly enough of them to handle it. About half an hour before kickoff, we headed to the ground. Boro had turned out in big numbers, and inside the ground we took position on the side terrace, right next to where their lot were standing. The tension was thick. Just before the match was due to start, a scuffle broke out on the Darlo end. That was all the trigger we needed. Hundreds of us climbed over the barriers and flooded the pitch. Darlo responded in kind, and within seconds it was full-blown warfare on the turf. It was like something out of a cowboy film. Fists flying, lads piling in from all directions, some with scarves over their faces, others just swinging wildly. The fight went on for a good 5 minutes, completely unchecked. The police, completely overwhelmed, took even longer to restore order. Kickoff was delayed, and even once the game got going, the mayhem didn't stop. Boro fans invaded the pitch twice more during the match. It wasn't just your usual handbags either. 5 stabbings were recorded that day, though not one of the victims made a formal complaint. Make of that what you will. All in all, 88 arrests were made. Not bad going for a 3rd Division fixture. The local press went into meltdown. The next day's front page screamed of urban warfare and military-style planning. One copper was quoted saying it was like the town had been held hostage. The Red Car Casuals, Northallerton Blues, and of course Darlington's Bank Top 200 were all named and shamed. According to reports, both sides had come armed. Bleach bottles, Stanley knives, pool balls. Police said it had been in the making since the day Boro were relegated. They weren't wrong. That day was circled in every calendar months ahead. Darlo may have thought they could ambush us, but we came out of it with our heads high, and with the town centre and stadium well and truly visited. Darlington Bank Top 200 member Ross told us, "Ask any Darlington lad who was knocking about during the 80s, and they'll tell you, without hesitation, the biggest day in our firm's early history was when Middlesbrough came to town. Just over a dozen miles separated us on the map, but in the world of terrace warfare, we lived in 2 different universes. Back then, we were still building our name. Boro, on the other hand, had already carved out a fearsome reputation across the country. They went by names like the Joeys or the Boys, a polished mob of casuals known for their sharp clobber and no-nonsense attitude. When the fixtures dropped for the 1986 season, and it showed Boro visiting us in Division 3, we circled the date. This wasn't just another match. It was a war. That morning, the Bank Top 200 gathered early, around 10 a.m. But instead of the usual meetups in Market Square, we decided to group up outside the old Engineers Club in Northgate. It was a tactical shift. We wanted to be tooled up and tight as a unit before venturing into the town centre where we knew Boro would be landing in big numbers. By 11 a.m. there were well over 200 of us. Inside the club, the atmosphere was electric. Everyone was buzzing, focused and ready. We posted a couple of younger lads from the under-5s outside to keep watch. We weren't going to get caught napping. Around noon, one of the kids burst in, shouting that a Boro crew was on its way. No hesitation. We were out the doors and into the street in seconds. What we saw was laughable. Maybe 40 of them, led, ironically, by a lad from Darlo who'd defected and been tagging along with their lot. He'd clearly convinced them that this route would keep them off police radar. Bad move. We were waiting. They looked rattled the second they clocked us. Some stood their ground, others instinctively backed off into the road. We didn't give them time to think. A few of them took a right pasting. I remember seeing a well-known lad from their side go down hard. Fair play. Later he admitted they'd been completely done over. As expected, the old bill arrived in no time. Rather than get lifted, we legged it through North Lodge Park, cutting under the railway via the subway and into the heart of town. I'll never forget the sight. Our entire mob charging down the tunnel with the police right on our heels. One copper caught a belt and went down cold. He was out before he hit the floor. One of our lads ended up getting a heavy stretch for that, even though it was clearly someone else who did it. By the time we hit the high street, the game had shifted. Boro had regrouped, and now their main force was out. We'd been split up during the run, and I ended up with about 30 or 40 of our more solid lads. Not boys, proper standers. We didn't wait. We went straight at them. I remember one of the lads laughing, telling me it was time to show off the Thai boxing I'd been bragging about. I picked out a Boro lad, went in with a wild punch, missed by a mile, tried a roundhouse, lost my balance, and ended up flat on my back. Before I could recover, I had boots and fists raining down on me. Lesson learned. Leave the martial arts for the gym. All around us, the town was erupting. Little pockets of Darlo and Boro were clashing in every street, outside every pub. It was like something out of a film, chaos spilling over into everyday life. High Row was mayhem. We were heading toward the George, another one of our haunts, when a huge Boro mob came marching straight toward us. That moment, when two mobs lock eyes and know there's no turning back, it's a mix of fear and adrenaline you can't explain. They charged. We met them. Shoppers scattered. I saw prams, bags, everything flying. One woman's buggy got knocked over, and people were screaming. No one wants civvies caught up, but that day, there was no avoiding it. Funny thing is, the baby in that pram ended up becoming one of our top faces years later. Can't say he didn't get an early start. After the dust settled, we pulled back to the Three Crowns. Coppers were crawling over town and sniffing around for faces from the earlier clashes. Best to let it cool before heading to the ground. Inside the stadium, things didn't calm down. Boro's lot were kicking off in every corner, and it felt like every steward and copper in the place was in over their heads. Before kick-off, 69 arrests had already been made. By the end of the day, dozens more would follow. A few of our lads caught bans and jail time, but that was the risk you took. Looking back, that day was a marker. We didn't just show up. We stood toe-to-toe with one of the top firms in the country and held our own. Ask any Boro lad who was there. Darlo weren't just some lower league mob anymore. We arrived that day, fists flying, boots swinging, and we made damn sure everyone knew it. We thank Tony and Ross for their recollections. It's clear that the Boro mob was a top mob in the day, but maybe they underestimated their local rival firm, the Bank Top 200, who many listeners may not have heard of. A very tidy firm in my opinion. Thanks for watching. Please share, comment, like and subscribe, as it really helps our channel grow. Until the next video, bye for now.